day so far today here at eCoach Day. We welcome to Slide Away from Slides. I think most of you know who I am, but for those of you that may not, I am Carrie Lambert. I'm one of the specialists here in the Office of Instructional Technology. I will be presenting via Nearpod today, and so if you would, if you have not already, go ahead and go to Class Link, and you're going to be looking for the Nearpod icon. If you're not familiar with it, it is this little guy right here. It's one of the many dozens of blue icons that we have on our front page. But go ahead and click on Nearpod. And then the code that you're going to use is this one right here. I'm going to drop that into the chat for you. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. I can see I have about 23 of you on here, so that's pretty good. We're just missing a few of you. All right, thank you, Paige. If you've got that, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome to Slide Away from Slides. This might come as a surprise as something that I would present, since you all know I'm such a Google person, but it's something that has really been coming up lots more when we are speaking to our principals and things around the district, that they are really wanting our teachers to be utilizing things that are a little bit more interactive, engaging for our students. So what are some options that we have aside from Google Slides? So before I get too much further, I've pushed a poll out to you. If you would just take a moment and make your selection. What is your role here within AACPS? I know we do have several special guests joining us throughout the day today, so I just want to make sure. I know many of you on the call, but just to give me an idea here, I'll switch over to my teacher thing. Yep, most teachers, that's pretty much what I expected. I know there's a couple resource in here, and Right Start advisors are always nice to see as well. All right, wonderful. So that'll just help me gear as we go through some of our examples and things here so that I know what we're doing with. So this is Nearpod, as I had said, and this is one of the features I can toggle easily between our student view and our teacher view. So it's a great way to get all student response and have everyone engaged with the lesson. So another option for that is going to be the Collaborate board. So this is hopefully coming out. I need to, there we go. And I just want to get an idea here. How are you currently using the slides? So you can share your thoughts. That's going to be down at the bottom of this screen here. Notice you can put a picture in if you would like. You can also do a quick video or audio or even a GIF if you would like, along with the typing. And because this is Nearpod Collaborate, you do have the ability to write comments, or you'll see that there are little hearts underneath your options as you put them in there, so you can like other people's responses as well. So we can kind of vote up. I'm seeing instruction, adding questions to videos. Maggie, that's one of my favorites. Well, favorite things to do, but we're going to go over that a little bit. Carol, what's your question?
Um, I can't remember if it's Nearpod or another
Mhm.
application where you can turn off the ability to comment. They can just vote it up or
Yes,
down or
you can
like
do
it.
that here too. Yes, you can do
Okay.
it here with Nearpod. Yep. I left it open for you. I figured we were all adults. And you might want to share things. So presentation, independent classwork, your daily lesson slides, introducing and teaching new topics. Presentations, obviously. I mean, that is what Google Slides is known for. Stay on schedule. And I used to do that myself. I would use Notebook for that, just to kind of keep myself on track. All right, so sharing lesson materials, daily slides. All right, projecting on that smart board to guide the lesson. So what we're going to do today is really explore some other options that we can use that do many of the exact same things that we do in slides, but actually will do it just a smidgen better for us. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. So Google Slides is great, and I don't want to take anything away from it. Let's face it, it saved us during the pandemic. You know, it was something that was very easy for us to train everybody on, because everyone had some level of familiarity, if not with Google Slides, with PowerPoint. It worked really well with Google Classroom that we were using at the time. And so we really, I mean, it saved us. Let's be honest, because it really is the Swiss Army knife, if you will, of the Google Suite. It's really easy to use, and the students know it. But it's really designed and made for stand and deliver presentations. It really doesn't work with our interactivity. There's a lot of flaws with it when we try to do student work and student activities with it. So I'm hoping to kind of give you some solutions to those problems with other programs and applications that we have here in the district. So for example, one thing we absolutely love about Google Slides is that we can see the students working live and all in one place. Whether it's that you have one single slide deck and every student has a slide in it, or because we've pushed it out through Google Assignments in Brightspace and everyone gets their own copy. We love that. But the problem with that is that they can work on the wrong slide. Has anyone had that one happen before? Yes, no? Kids ended up on the wrong slide. They delete somebody else's work by mistake. Sometimes you might have to go in and do some differentiation with that, and you can't because everyone's in the same spot. Another thing that we have a lot of problems with, particularly with our younger students, but it can also be very frustrating for our adult learners and our older folks, they can move things around on the slide. That they're not supposed to move. We can make that photo background so then they can't move those elements, but one, it's extra work for us. But then two, if we go to share or we need to edit, it's can be kind of cumbersome and difficult to do that. So really, when we're looking to be able to see our students work live, we have several options. Lumio, which you've seen today, we are able to view everyone's work live in Lumio. We can do the same thing with Nearpod. I have a drawlet later on in the presentation here where you are going to be able to be working live and I will be able to go through and see all of that. If you are strictly working with our students, just doing a some type of assignment, it's not attached to your lesson and embedded in your lesson delivery. Wixie is a fantastic option. We can see our students working live. Anything that our students create in Wixie is immediately shared with their classroom teachers. All of those options allow us to lock things in place so students can't move them, but we as a teacher have the ability to manipulate them and change them if need be. Okay, which is really important if you're sharing things with others. So again, slides works, but it's really not going to be your best option for those things. The other thing I want to point out when we come, actually, never mind, that's coming up. I'm getting ahead of myself on that one. So again, these are going to be three good options that you can use. And I'll help you. We'll go through how to pick what's going to be best for you here in just a few moments. So another kind of hack that we made for slides was doing drag and drop activities. It's something we saw a lot of, particularly during the pandemic. I saw a lot with math manipulatives at the time, and they would drag things around. But again, they can delete them. We saw that happen. And sometimes what's really frustrating for our little guys is they resize by mistake. And then they get really, upset that they can't and they're trying to go back to the same size. And especially if we're doing something that really needs to stay in proportions, it can be very frustrating for our students. You also have to make sure that your students know how to copy and paste or do Control D in order to duplicate the items as many times as they need, if it's something along those lines. Again, Lumio allows us to do infinite clone. So does Nearpod. We actually have new drag and drop functionality within Nearpod. I don't know if you attended Asia's presentation earlier, but drag and drop is a new thing that we can do. And then Wixie also allows us to do infinite clone. And what I really like particularly about Wixie is that you can also protect the elements on the page. So that means you can set it so that the students can move it around the page, but they cannot delete it, which is always important. And you can also set it so they can't resize it. So again, a better opportunity, a better option if you're going to be doing drag and drop style activities. Another one, inking over the slides. This is something that we have heard, I can't tell you how many times, especially since we've been back face to face, is how do I ink over my Google Slides? Now, Google did just recently, and by recently, I mean within the last month, push out a inking tool in Google Slides itself. I don't know if you've seen that. When you're in present mode, you have a inking tool. The problem is you have to be in present mode. And I know so often when we are presenting and working within our students, within our classroom, we want to see that slide sorter view coming down the side. So that doesn't really help us much. We can use our Smart Ink over Google Slides. But no matter what we're doing, it doesn't stay for our students to be able to review it later on. And especially if we have students who are absent, maybe you want them to be able to see your notes, we're not going to be able to have that inking there for them. So that's where Lumio really comes into play. Lumio is by Smart. So many of you are talking about, you're showing Google Slides on your smartboard. Well, Lumio is designed to work with smartboards. So we should be thinking about using the programs that are designed to work with our boards themselves. Okay. So that would be one solution for that point of frustration, if you will. We also love the ease of typing. It's easy to type on slides, but what about audio recording? What about video recording? Drawing is really tough. And so many of the things that our students were asking to do, we may not necessarily need them to type. typing is important. Please don't mistake me. They obviously need to know how to type for assessments and things like that. But again, why does everything have to be typed out? So we don't have those options that are easy to do in Google Slides. It actually involves having to use a third party tool. We also have speech to text in slides, which is great, but it only puts it down in the slide notes. So then you have to teach your students how to take that and put it up into the spot where they were supposed to, wherever they were supposed to be typing was on the slide itself. So from that accessibility standpoint, it's going to be a little clunky and cumbersome. Both Wixie will allow students to record audio and video directly within it and embed it right on the slides without the need of anything else. Both that, Lumio and Nearpod also support speech to text. They will also read to the students as well. So you have that extra capability there too. And I realize some of these are doing more with like our student and our follow-up work, but you'll see as we get into presentations, you'll see that many of these same options apply. One of the big ones is ease of sharing. Even whether we're doing it with our students and presenting in our class or we're doing it with professional learning like today, we'd like to be able to share things with folks. All right. And actually, one thing I forgot to do as I was going through, I don't know if many of you realize this, but if you're on your Nearpod right now, if you look in your upper, it's not going to be on my screen because I'm presenting, but if you look in your upper right-hand corner of your screen, there's going to be a little drop-down arrow, a little black circle that's going to say something about taking notes. Does anybody see that? Do we see that on our screen? I don't know how many people realize this, but in Nearpod, you can have your students take notes directly in there. It's going to ask you where they want to send your notes. In this case, it's going to be Google Slides, or you can choose Google Drive rather. It will actually take a snapshot of each of my slides here in this Nearpod, put it at the top of the page with the notes that you take in the bar for that side underneath of it for you. That is a great way to engage our learners, whether they are again, adults, and we're looking at from that perspective, our middle school and our high school students, when we're talking about taking notes during a presentation, Nearpod is a great option for that. And so, again, just getting them engaged a little bit more with that. So you can share your slides and share what's that information, and they can have their notations right along with that. Because again, we go back to slides is really going to only be interactive for one person in the class or one person that's presenting. Having, someone stand at the front of the board and just keep going through, or having one student come up and interact with the slide deck, that's not going to get your entire class engaged and interacting. We want to have them be able to do more things like the poll or like the collaborate board. We're going to have the Drawlet feature here in a little bit. And I know that comes with some fear, like, oh, I can share my Google Slides with everyone and then they can see it and they can have it. But you can't control where they are in the presentation, okay, like we can with Lumio or Nearpod. And if you don't want them messing with your teacher slides, then you have to have multiple files that you're trying to juggle. Nearpod is going to allow us to do teacher-led slides plus student paced. Actually, again, one of the things you may not be aware of, but if you look at my screen right here in the bottom corner, I have this little guy here with a red dot. I can at any point decide which group of slides in my Nearpod I want to be student paced, so I can have it go back and forth while I'm teaching. So this is a great opportunity if perhaps I get behind, or we run out of time, I can immediately go ahead and turn that off or turn that on so that you can get to the slides that you need to. Lumio, as you saw this morning, it's going to allow us to go back and forth between teacher-led slides, independent slides, and collaborative slides. So all within one file. That's the only file I have to mess with, the only file I have to work with. And both are going to be shareable to students with your notes and with your things afterwards. All right. Stacy, no, I cannot see your notes. Those are going to be strictly for your eyes unless you would choose to share them with me. Good question on that one. Okay. So again, Lumio and Nearpod, great just for adding that interactivity. I mean, no one likes to be stood and talked to, stand and delivered. Please do as I say, not as I do at the moment. And yet that's what we tend to do when we are using slides. So again, using a platform that's going to give us that back and forth between presenter and student is going to be a better option. Somebody mentioned embedding videos with questions as one of their things that they really love, and that is great. We can do that in slides. However, did the kids actually watch the video? That's always the question, right? Did they really? Did you, if you were showing it whole group, remember to pause where you needed to be to ask the questions? Okay. With both Nearpod and Discovery Education, we can take our videos and embed questions directly within the video. And you can even set it so that the students cannot move forward until they answer that question. Okay, so already we're going to have them working with that. And if you think back, if you've completed our Creating Digital Instructional Materials course, or even our Engaging Digital Learners course, lessons course, we talk a little bit about the power of video and pausing that video and how to get them thinking and interacting with the video rather than just passively watching it. So again, using those features within Discovery Education works beautifully for the Discovery Ed videos, so many of which are in our curriculum, having that. And what I like about the Discovery Ed one is you can be doing that live with the students in a presentation scenario, or you could also push that out and have the students work through it on their own as well. What I also like about the Discovery Ed option is they can have a chat going on while they're watching the video, again, while everyone is in that together, if you choose to. That's a feature that can be turned on or off. Nearpod is great in that you can take those YouTube videos, if they are not in restricted mode, if they're available to students, then they're going to be able, again, to have those videos embedded throughout. You can also upload your own videos as well if you need to either of those. But it's going to give you a little bit more assurance, if you will, that our students are actually participating. Even again, from that professional standpoint, even just having it up there, if I'm presenting and I want to have that class discussion together as a whole group, you don't have to stop and be like sitting at your computer and have your finger on that mouse to pause it at just the right time. It would stop it for you, so then you can have that discussion as an entire group. So, having said all of that, does it mean you shouldn't be using slides? No. Okay. But like it comes time to anything, when we stop and think about the tools that we are using, we really need to stop and think, one, is my pedagogy good? Is this what I really am trying to accomplish? What are my goals of the lesson and activity? Is slides the best tool for the job? It may not be. Okay. So, how can you go about deciding what tool would be the best? That's always the big question. So, what can we do to kind of help choose what we want to use? You saw me mention a lot with Lumio and Nearpod for that presentation tool. So this is one thing, this is just a quick little flow map, if you will, that's going to allow us to help figure out what tool is best. So often I get asked the question, what's better, Nearpod or Lumio? One really is not better than the other. It really depends on what your goal is. Some people do prefer one over the other. It can be your personal teaching style, but it really comes down to what is it that you want to happen during that lesson delivery or during that professional development. So, is it going to be stand and deliver? All I need to do is stand at the front of my screen and just, stand in front of the top of the room in a Google Meet and present? Then you're going to use slides more than likely. Okay. But if you want it to be more interactive, all right, if you want to have individual responses, then you can use Nearpod or you can use Lumio. If you want it to be collaborative, if you want to have something like we did this morning where we pushed out um, the um, the graphic organizer, if you will, for our word salad game. If you want something to be truly collaborative and be able to work on the page, drawing, adding text, images, all of those things, even completing graphic organizers, Lumio is going to be what you want to use. All right. If you want to do the embedded videos with the questions embedded within them, it's going to be Nearpod or it's going to be Discovery. All right. Now, I do want to point out, everyone's saying here, like, but Carrie, all of my stuff is in Google Slides. I don't want to have to recreate them. Valid point. Definitely that can be stressful. Both Nearpod and Lumio will take your Google Slides and just take them and make them into new Nearpods and Lumios. In fact, I actually created this slide deck in Google Slides, and we have an add-on for Nearpod. It's under the extensions menu. And so I just pulled my slide deck and then I dropped in the interactivity pieces as I wanted them. So I didn't even have to recreate my slides. I didn't have to do anything. I could edit my slides like I normally would. I just used the Nearpod extension to add the interactivity pieces. There'll be more coming, I promise. Lumio right now, you can take your Google Slides and upload them, import them in. They will be static images. However, that will be changing here shortly. Right now, you can take PDFs and PowerPoints and put them into Lumio, and then once they're in there, you can actually still manipulate all of the pieces. So your text and your images, all that will be able to be moved. And it is coming for Google Slides. We've been told hopefully by the end of the year. But the workaround right now would be to download your Google Slides as a PowerPoint and then upload those into Lumio. As I said, a lot of questions that I get, comes down to, well, which one do I use? So, what I have here for you, this is a document that we've put together in our office. Hopefully, that should be coming out to you on your screens. This is a Google Doc that really just kind of lays them out side by side for you, Nearpod versus Lumio. So, just kind of walks through here for you a little bit what the similarities are and what are the pros to both types of platforms. Sometimes I will admit I start off in one and I was like, you know what, I really do want to add that collaborative feature. So, I'm going to switch over to Lumio. Or I start off in Lumio and I'm like, you know what, no, I want to do the video with the embed and I swap back over to Nearpod. You can use them both interchangeably. Again, I know that could seem overwhelming. So pick one, think which one is going to fit best for the way that you teach to start with, and then we can go through from there. Katie, I believe I will double check. I believe it's still on Teacher Intro to Digital Tools under both the Lumio page and the Nearpod page, but if not, I'll make sure it gets put there and I'll make it sure it's also part of the resources for the recording on that one. Okay. Um, we recently redid Teacher Intro, so I'm pretty sure it's still there, but I just want to double check myself there. But you can see many of them have interactive elements. They both have game features, which is fabulous. You saw the monster quiz this morning, but Lumio has some additional options. Nearpod has time to climb, so much better than anything you'll find on Kahoot. I'm just going to throw that out there. And again, the idea is everything's in one platform. You don't have to jump back and forth if you want to add a gamified component, or you don't have to jump back and forth if you want them to do a Teams activity or an individual activity. This is going to allow us to be able to incorporate into one file for our students. So again, there's a few differences. Again, the big one is the collaborative ability with Lumio. Nearpod's going to have those video questions in there. They both have the PhET simulations in there for our middle school and high school teachers that you might want to utilize those, but any of those are going to work. And keep in mind that even when it comes to stand and deliver type things, it's going to be much more engaging and interactive for your participants if you even just throw that poll question in the beginning and maybe one at the end or a quiz. So really, even as the adult learners, and even just thinking about it from the perspective, you can have my presentation right in front of you, right, on my individual device. I'm going to be able to see it better. I'm going to be able to, really be able to, take in that information a little bit better than trying to see it from here across the room. Whether again, I'm in my classroom or if we were presenting, here, even at Carver, from the back of the auditorium, if you will. So again, just being able to have that really right there for your folks is going to be a little bit better. Oop, I've lost my mouse now. Where'd you go? There you go. All right. So that's kind of from that idea of lesson delivery or the delivery of professional development. When we think about follow-up options for our students, we saw in our Collaborate board there, many folks were talking about how they used it for activities for our students. This is where things can get a little bit more hairy, if you will. But again, we need to come back to this idea of our Maryland Digital Learning Standards. And what is our goal? What is it that we want our students to be able to do? So this is going to be an independent activity. I'm going to give you just a moment because you don't need me to sit here and read to you. Read through our standards. You'll see the first two are directly pulled from Maryland Digital Learning Standards. There are many more that would go for this. I just picked a couple. Same with our Common Core standards. These are the actual Common Core standards from reading and from speaking and listening. Read through those, highlight, you can circle, you can make all sorts of notations there as you go through in terms of how we should be using our technology with our students to build them to be college and career ready. So I'm going to go ahead and give you about 2 or 3 minutes to go through that. I'm just going to point out I can see all of your work live at the same time, just like I can in Google Slides. I didn't want to put the sticker right in the middle of the screen. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Hit the wrong button. Let me go back. All right. Seeing a lot of the similar type things pop up here. Again, I apologize for the lag on my computer here today. Did anything jump out at people? What surprised them in terms of when we're talking about follow-up for our students and the work that we're asking them to do? Is there anything that really comes as a big surprise? And how the technology plays into that? Feel free to go ahead and unmute. Anybody?
Not a surprise,
Mhm.
but often forgotten the high level
Mhm.
expectations we have for students
Yeah.
to progress with the use of technology, especially that one point about evaluating information.
Mhm.
And, I don't think we spend enough time on helping them learn how to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Debbie. I want to point out, because as I'm going through here, many of you have highlighted the fact that it is diverse media and formats. So I want you to think about that in terms of when we talk about using Google Slides, is it something that allows us, our students, to be diverse, or is it really just one modality? We're really just using typing. Okay, so something to think about that. I do want to point out that these Common Core standards in particular start at pre-K. So this is not something, so often we hear, oh, and again, do they need to learn how to write? Absolutely. They need to hold a pencil and paper? Absolutely. Please don't think I'm dismissing the importance of that. But again, even starting with our youngest learners, they're being asked to be introduced to those technology and be able to express themselves with technology. And so, again, produce and publish, evaluating information, enhance their understanding of those presentations. So, as we go through, we can start to see, maybe slides isn't helping us meet all of these particular needs. So, what will help us meet all of those needs? I do want to point out, I don't know how many of you were in the thing this morning for Asia going over the new features of Nearpod, but you do have this give feedback button now in Nearpod, so I can actually come in here. My computer's lagging a little bit, but you can come in here and actually have a variety of feedback stickers that you can add to your student slides as they're working, along with obviously text and highlighting and drawing and all of that as well. But kind of a neat little feature that they have added recently for that. So let's kind of go think, I was going to have you do the what surprises you. I'm going to go through that because we actually just did that verbally. But again, this would be an example of just getting some feedback from our participants on what they thought. So it can be that all student response factor that we sometimes lose when we're within slides. Oh, seasonal ones. Oh, I can't wait to have on that one. All right. So when we think in this with our decision flow map here for thinking about our student follow-up, is it going to be built into the lesson delivery? In which case you're going to want to choose something like Nearpod or Lumio that's going to allow you to have it built right in and be able to monitor as we go through. You want to think about what's the purpose. Okay, that should always, first and foremost, what is your goal? What is the standard that you are looking to meet here? And kind of come on, they have to type the answer. If your standard doesn't have to necessarily go with writing, and again, students have to be able to express themselves with that written language. But if you just want to see if they caught the concept, if they comprehended that story that they were reading, maybe it would be better for them to very quickly record the audio or to do a video explaining it rather than simply typing out that answer. And then it can even be teased out further later on if you have them type out or write out the answer. Do they truly understand the concept? Or are they struggling with the written language and putting it into words? Because that would certainly change how we might approach how we're teaching our follow-up lessons on that. Think about the product. I don't know about you, but when was the last time that you had to actually draw out a trifold brochure or draw out a poster to present information to your principal or to your teams or to your faculty? Okay, probably not very often. Okay, think about too. What things our students are really engaged with right now. They're, whether we like it or not, they're on TikTok, they're on YouTube, they're on all of those things. So maybe having them do something with video would be a good option as well. And all that kind of goes into the response type as well. There are only a few options that we have here in AACPS when we're thinking about how our students can respond to and do follow-up type activities. Adobe Express is great for visual, for graphics, for infographics, for charts, all of those things. And you'll notice that those were part of the standard, that the students need to be able to express and convey ideas using those types of visuals. Brightspace, we have our discussion boards in there. Don't forget, Brightspace also has drag and drop. It allows students to record a video note very quickly and easily within that platform. Discovery Ed, again, the idea with the videos and be able to push those out and have them go through that. Lumio Nearpod, I have already mentioned. Minecraft. We saw a great lesson. We've had students building a habitat within Minecraft. Having them just build and just do waves. For my 4th and 5th grade teachers out there, newsflash, that's going to be in the curriculum, we think. We talked to Brian about that, having the students build waves in Minecraft. Just something that's going to show that to them in a different way. We video, and then, of course, Wixie. Now, I don't have time in 55 minutes to obviously walk you through all of those, but we have plenty of information on Teacher Intro to Digital Tools. If you go to that, again, it's on class link. It's that big T icon. And if you haven't been there recently, we completely redid it over the summer. And I'll talk about the student intro here too. But if you go under application support, we have really broken down all of the various applications that we have a little bit deeper. I'll go into Lumio right now, because I've talked about that quite a bit here, but we can see how you get started, how you get it to your students, how you can see the student work, and then as well as what it works like in Brightspace. And we have done that with all of those applications. So when we think about, oh, I really like how Google Slides allows me to see everyone's work in one space. Well, guess what? You can do it here with these other applications too. So we've spelled that out for you here with On Teacher Intro. I do, if you want to focus on one, Carrie, I'm just not sure where to start. Maybe you want to keep with your Google Slides, like for your lesson delivery, but move more forward with something else for student follow-up. I will tell you, Wixie is going to be your most versatile option that we have. So if you want to stick with one and have the students become very comfortable with one, Wixie is going to be your best option for that. You can actually lock your page elements for the students, but they're going to be remain editable for the teachers themselves. They can draw, they can type, they can record audio, and they can record video, all within Wixie without having to go to a third party. It does speech to text and text to speech, okay, without having to use read and write. So that's kind of nice if you don't want to have to teach them something different, another tool to work on top of another tool. Wixie is going to have that built in. Infinite clone, that's always a good one. Again, if you're dealing with manipulatives or letters or anything that you want the students to be able to have multiple copies of, infinite clone is going to be your friend. Again, as I said earlier, you can actually protect those objects. It does allow for collaboration with team projects. You can watch them working live and provide feedback. My favorite part, there's thousands of templates that are already done, and you can just be brought up by the students without you even having to push anything out to them. For our younger students, sometimes we want less is more. Wixie actually allows you to lock the tools. So in Google Slides, they always have all of those tools available to them. All of that. Maggie, I'm getting to that. Yes, we do have one of those. And so that is going to really be able to turn those tools off and on is going, you can limit to them just having the drawing tool or just having the text tool. It does translation. It works with Brightspace. And one thing I did not put on here, and I forgot to do that, but keep in mind, okay, now my brain has gone completely blank because it's not on my list. It'll come to me, I'm sure, as we get through here. But again, you can also work on this and very easily differentiate within the Wixie program as well for those students who need to. But again, this is why when we did our asynchronous lessons, Sheila, I think you read my mind. We purposely chose to do our asynchronous lessons for elementary students for emergency vid days in Wixie because we felt it was something that students could navigate by themselves and we could lock things down as we needed to, but yet the teachers would still have the ability. I remember what it was. The lockable image library. I do have it in my list. I've put it in there. You can actually, within Wixie, I know sometimes there's issues with Google Images. What are they going to find? Maybe not finding what they have. You can actually set Wixie to open to a specific library if you want them to. All right, so that is an option as well. And Wixie, if you haven't realized, just in the last month, they have expanded. They've partnered with Pixabay, so there's a greater option of images and clip art even within Wixie than it had before. So again, if you're looking for an all-in-one for student follow-up, Wixie is going to be the most versatile of all that we have. So, and if you're not really sure, like, I'm not really sure what I should do, which one would be best, ask us. Reach out to your specialist, whether it's me or Sam or Tracy or Coral, and we are happy to help you walk through what is your lesson, what is it that you're trying to do, and really help you kind of figure out and pinpoint what would be best, and even help you build it if it's not something that you're comfortable with. We're happy not to do it for you, but to teach you and to walk you through that process. We do indeed, Maggie, to your thing, we do have a file. It is in our creating digital instructional materials course. I think it used to be on teacher intro to digital tools. I'll double check, but if not, if you hang on for a minute, I will drop the link in the chat for you as well. So with that, I just want you to remember as we kind of start to wrap things up here that slides does have its place, but it's not always going to be the best tool for the engagement and active learning that we are looking for from our students. And again, we can take what we have in slides, we can put them into Lumio and Nearpod very easily. We can put them even into Wixie very easily. So just really kind of think about your process and maybe spread the wings out a little bit. We've gotten so comfortable with using slides that we have forgotten that it really isn't a tool that has been designed strictly for education. So again, going back to what is available, I've already pointed out Teacher Intro to Digital Tools. And because we asked about that, I should point out here is that Nearpod versus Lumio link. I had mentioned that on the Lumio page, you'll see it linked right across. Ooh, why did that? It didn't switch over to my tab. Hold on one second. That would be helpful. Here's Teacher Intro. Here is that link that I had said about Nearpod versus Lumio. It's also going to be found on the Nearpod page. But as I had said earlier, here's your getting started, giving it to students using it with Brightspace. If I go to the main application support page, Maggie, this is the one that I was talking about right here to compare applications side by side for digital worksheets. We have this one here. So I'll open that up. I'll share this tab instead. I will point out this still does have Jamboard on it. That will be going away. We haven't wanted to add that. Amy, yes, I should have a couple minutes. I can do that. So Jamboard, keep in mind you don't want to be doing anything in Jamboard anymore. Jamboard is going away next October. So I wouldn't, if I were you, build anything in Jamboard. That is not our decision. That was a Google call. They announced that just a couple of weeks ago. We will be exploring options, but we haven't gotten there yet. But this will lay out for you in terms of, Adobe's not on here yet, but what each of these will do strictly when we're thinking about worksheets and taking our worksheets and making them digital. These are going to be the options and lay all of that out. Thank you, Stacy, for that. Stacy, yes, we will send something out. I thought we put it in the last eCoach thing, but we may have not. We may not have. But again, that was an announcement that Google made. Beyond our sorry, we're just as sad as everybody else on that one, but they have made that decision. You still have it through next October, so just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But you're going to have that. In terms of actually putting these things into slides, if you're in Nearpod, I will go ahead and end this. So hold on, let me share this tab again. And I'm going to go ahead and end this session. For building within the, if you want to go with Nearpod, what I recommend, and we're going to see how much I can tax my computer system here. If you just go to Google Drive and open up slides, and I can even show you specifically the slide deck that I worked with. Like I said, my computer, if those of you missed it, decided it's going to do an update in about probably a half an hour. So things have been a little slow here. But if I go through and open up any slide. So here's my slide deck that I was working on. And I like this about Nearpod because it does allow me to use all the fun backgrounds and things that you can get from Slides Mania or Slides Carnival. If you go under extensions, I may have to close something here in order to get this to open. There is a Nearpod add-on. If you don't see it, you can add it. And what it does, so here's Nearpod. And if I hit open Nearpod, it's going to open a window over on the right-hand side that is going to allow me to add all those interactivity pieces. So whether it's a poll, a collaborate board, I can take any of these slides like I did with the standards one and turn it into a drawlet. That is going to be available for you here. It's thinking, I promise. The PhET simulations are there, so you can go ahead and drop those in for my middle school and high school folks up there. This one's going to tell me that I'm actually running the lesson. So it's not, oh, geez. I'm sorry, guys. Here we go. So I went to extensions. My fault on that one. Extensions, and then here's Nearpod right there. It's not going to let me do this one because I'm actually running it actively right now, but all of the things come up here and you just literally click on it and it drops it right into your slide deck where you want it to be. Super easy, very, very nice to be able to put those together. If you want to use Lumio, now I'm going to close this because it's going to tell me that's going to be slow. So let me share my screen again. Apparently I hit window. Let me do the entire screen this time. So to do Lumio, always remember that when you're going in as a teacher, that you're going to go in through the Google Drive. This is something that people tend to get a little confused with. When you're going to build, when you're going to be the instructor, you go under New. And if you go then to More, you're going to find the option for Lumio. And when I get there, let's see if I close a couple of tabs here. It's thinking. I'm going to have the option to create a new lesson right here in the top left-hand corner, new. And again, the directions for all of this are on Teacher Intro. So when I hit new, you'll see here the very top corner is importing a resource. So when I select this, I can even pull directly from Google Drive. I can upload if I need to. Again, the editable PowerPoint is new. It's coming for slides. I would go into Google Drive and I would select my slide deck. I'll just grab the same one here. And what's nice about this is it's going to allow me, if I already have that slide deck, to pick and choose which specific slides I want to bring in. And again, the amount of time depends on the size of the slide, the number of graphics, things along those lines. But that's how you would bring that in, and then you select it and it will drop it down into Lumio for you. And then you can go back and add the interactivity using Lumio's options like the smart response things. You have your graphic organizers, your game-based activities that pop up on that same screen that I had up a moment ago. Okay. So with that, are there any other questions? I use this for morning announcements because teachers send slides 5 minutes before we go live. Isn't it lovely when they do that last minute? So you can see here's where it would allow me to add all of those. It's actually pulling in my Nearpod slides. They'll just be pictures though. Okay. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to have Paige drop the attendance chat in there. I hope this has given you some ideas. I know it's a little hard in something like this because we can't really show you how necessarily to do all of this, but I hope it's gotten your thinking about some different options and just different ways. Again, I should mention, nice thing about both these options too, when we do all student response, when we do those types of activities with our students with slides, keep in mind you can't go back and revisit them. I can close this, I can go back and I can look a little bit closer at what you highlighted and your responses on the collaborate board. I can't do that if they're doing it on dry erase boards. So just one last thought to kind of think about as we wrap things up here. I'm happy to hang out for a couple of minutes if any of you have questions, but Paige has dropped the attendance link in there. And yes, Debbie, I'm just down the hall. You can corner us anytime. But again, I'm happy to hang out for any lingering questions. If not, I'll let you guys go so you have a couple minutes to head to your next session. Amy, what have you got for me?
So when you turn those slides into your Nearpod or Lumio,
Yes.
will it stay in your Google Drive or will you go
Yes.
to the actual?
So to launch, then you would go to Nearpod or you would go to Lumio.
Okay, that's
so you
what
still
my
have your
question was.
slides. Your slides will remain in Google Drive, but it won't have that interactivity piece.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Dr. Garlick.
I have an individual question. I sent you an
Okay.
email, and you probably have your
Okay.
email closed so
I
that you can
do
see this
actually.
question. Completely understandable. I don't have access to Lumio.
Okay. We will would you mind horribly if we get back to you about that tomorrow?
I would not have mind at all. That's why I was waiting
Okay.
to the end. I was listening to everything and taking my notes on the side. So no problem at all.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. I see, I just pulled it up. I have my laptop ready to go over here. So I just opened my email. I have your